What's going on, guys? I'm Surfbone, and in this video, I'll be covering one of the most well-known items in DC Comics, the infamous Cosmic Treadmill. Though many people will probably not see this particular invention as anything relevant, and not at all important when it comes to scaling the verse itself, but I will be demonstrating in this video why the Cosmic Treadmill is actually one of the easiest ways to prove why DC comic book characters such as the members of the Justice League are actually far faster than most content creators have led you to believe. Although many of these characters that I'll be mentioning throughout the video are already consistently shown to be this level of speed anyway, and all have their own feats to back this up, but I feel like not only explaining what the Cosmic Treadmill is will help provide a higher level of consistency for these characters to be at this level of speed very easily, but this will also at the same time be debunking the following myths that have been circling around the DC Comics community for quite some time. But I will be addressing these myths throughout the video and provide evidence why the contrary is actually demonstrated several times to be the case. But without further ado, onto the video. The Cosmic Treadmill was first introduced during The Flash Volume 1, which takes place during the Silver Age. Barry Allen got the idea of constructing the Cosmic Treadmill from a time when he and Wally West got accidentally sent back to the past due to unknown means. I say unknown because I read the issue where they say this happens, but what takes place is they're on this island, a rock giant awakes, they fall down the mountain, and now they're somehow now in the prehistoric era. Yeah, the Silver Age is very, very weird, I know. Well, anyway, Barry goes on to say that this event inspired him to experiment with time travel using his own super speed, and wanted to perfect a way of time traveling under his own power. The treadmill, as Barry Allen states, is powered by cosmic rays and is coordinated by radiation pulses from the cosmic ray clock. Once you're ready to use it, you must set the clock to a specific time period you want to go to. Once set, the treadmill will begin to create vibrations that are required for someone to mimic in order to travel to that specific time period. And when you go forward on the treadmill, it'll take you to the future. But if you go backward, you'll travel to the past. Although, I want to point out that this isn't that important of a detail, as it isn't consistently shown that it matters which direction you go on the treadmill, but what is consistent is using the clock to dictate which time period you want to travel to. Once you travel to that specific time period, what's important is that you must control/maintain your internal vibrations and vibrate them at a high frequency if you want to remain there for an extended period of time. Otherwise, if you don't keep them up or slow them down by relaxing, you'll be immediately shot back to your present time where you originated from. In a layman's terms, the Cosmic Treadmill is a kind of GPS for time travel, to help characters with super speed navigate throughout time. This treadmill would be the fundamental design for which every other Cosmic Treadmill would be capable of doing. As many other characters have created their own Cosmic Treadmill, they wouldn't have been successful if they weren't aware of the original to base their design off of. Such as when in Pre-Crisis, Professor Zoom created one of his own, and stated how it was based off of Barry Allen's design. But when in Rebirth, Terry West created one so they could return it to the 31st century, they weren't aware of what was the proper power source to fuel their Cosmic Treadmill. Although they ended up using Blue Beetle's raw power as the power source, as a result it did work, but it blew up once they got there. Which brings us to the first question about the Cosmic Treadmill. Is the Cosmic Treadmill the only way for speedsters to be able to time travel? This is one of the two most common myths that surround both speedsters and the Cosmic Treadmill alike. And hopefully, if you're listening to my previous explanation of how the Cosmic Treadmill works, you would know that the answer to this first question would be no. But even if you disregard my previous explanation, this very same question was answered within the very same comic, The Flash Volume 1. For context, Dr. Fate and Jay Garrick had transported Barry Allen's wife Iris into the future to be cured of some kind of coronal sickness, which entailed that if Barry Allen and Iris were to come in contact with each other, then all of space and time would be destroyed. Barry wasn't aware that Dr. Fate and Jay Garrick did this, but eventually got the idea of looking for Iris in that same time period, since Iris' parents lived there, and he had already looked for her everywhere else on Earth. Hoping to prevent Barry Allen from using the Cosmic Treadmill and traveling to the future, Dr. Fate casted a spell to suspend the treadmill in place, which would in theory prevent Barry from traveling through time if the Cosmic Treadmill was the only reason he could. After an hour of running in place, Barry basically said, I guess the treadmill must not be working. Well, whatever, since I'm already vibrating at the correct frequency, I'll just go to the future anyway, lol, and vanishes from Dr. Fate's and Jay Garrick's point of view. What this has demonstrated is that Barry Allen doesn't require the Cosmic Treadmill in order to travel through time at all, but that he only needs it to help him create the necessary vibrations that would allow him to navigate to the correct time period. Which is why Barry created the treadmill in the first place. Which is why I said earlier, the treadmill would be much more fundamentally synonymous to a GPS for time travel. But just in case you're lost, let me use a much more simpler explanation. You're driving to Las Vegas from Los Angeles. Obviously, the first time, you would use a GPS to help you navigate, because you want to know exactly where to go without going to the wrong destination. But even if the GPS died, or you didn't have one, that doesn't mean you still can't drive to Las Vegas. But it'll sure be much more difficult since you have no idea on how to get there without proper directions. The same thing would apply to the Cosmic Treadmill or anyone else using it. Even if they could time travel on their own, if they didn't know how to get to that specific time period, they would be stuck jumping from time period to time period until they get there. So obviously, it would be much easier if they had a kind of time GPS so they know where they're going. Hence the reason why speedsters see the Cosmic Treadmill as such an essential breakthrough for them. Which leads into the next and probably the most essential question that also happens to be the most common misconception about the treadmill. Are speedsters the only ones capable of operating the treadmill? The answer to this question is a big fat no. And I would say it is actually more accurate to say that any character that is capable of traveling through time via sheer speed alone, otherwise known as immeasurable speed, is capable of using the Cosmic Treadmill. For those who aren't aware of what immeasurable speed is, or what the other three important speed tiers in scaling are, let me quickly explain. We'll use the equation speed equals distance over time to help better explain this. The first speed tier is called infinite speed, which is defined as traveling an infinite distance in any finite amount of time. So long as the character travels an infinite distance and the amount of time remains finite, that character would qualify the standards for having infinite speed. The reason I say any finite number relates back to how the number of infinity is used in any other math equation. Because any finite number, which would be any number 1 or above, multiplied by or divided by infinity is still infinity. The next tier above that is what's known as inaccessible speed, which is defined as traveling any distance in 0 time, or simply moving so fast you're in stop time. Although, this shouldn't be confused with resisting time manipulation, as inaccessible speed relates to a character being capable of moving in stop time due to how fast they're moving, and not because of a hack's resistance. Now you may wonder why this would be above infinite speed, and in order to properly explain that reasoning, we'll have to first switch around the speed equation so that distance equals speed multiplied by time. And remember how I said any distance in 0 time? Well, if you're acquainted with basic math, you would know that any number divided by or multiplied by 0, no matter what, is still 0. And what some of you might start to realize is that this same rule would still apply to even the number of infinity. So regardless of how big you think the number of infinity is, an infinite amount of zeros is still 0. This is what validates its placement above having infinite speed. Next, which is the main topic of today, is immeasurable speed, which is defined as any distance in negative time, movement beyond linear time, or simply going so fast you can time travel as a result. Within the speed equation, if time is any negative number, it would be considered undefined. Therefore, the speed cannot be measured, hence the name immeasurable. Now, to explain why immeasurable speed would be above inaccessible and infinite speed, let's visualize a race between three people. Each person is one of these three tiers of speed we have covered so far. When the gun goes off to start the race, a person with infinite speed would be capable of arriving at the finish line even if it's an infinite distance away. However, it would still take them a finite amount of time to get there. So in comparison, the person with inaccessible speed would arrive at the finish line regardless of distance in 0 amount of time, finishing before the person with infinite speed even had the chance to move. But the person with immeasurable speed would arrive at the finish line in negative seconds, essentially arriving before he even left. But even that is eclipsed by the fourth person who showed up out of nowhere, and he possessed the highest tier of speed possible, known as irrelevant speed. A character that would qualify for having this level of speed would to have demonstrated to surpass both the concepts of space and time, or the concepts of dimensions through sheer speed alone, in order to qualify for having irrelevant speed. The reason we call it irrelevant speed is like saying you're so incredibly fast that even the concepts of space and time, or the concepts of dimensions, are irrelevant to you. Why I decided to educate you on that particular tier of speed is because it will soon become relevant in a future video. But anyway, now since you have a better understanding of what immeasurable speed is, let's continue on with the rest of the video. Now, the reason why I believe my previous claim to be true is because this is backed up by Professor Zoom during Post-Crisis, where he verbatim states that it is necessary to acquire super speed abilities in order to even activate the treadmill. As you'll soon see, saying that Professor Zoom would be referring to immeasurable speed in this case would go on to prove to be a more accurate implication. And this would make sense why characters that aren't speedsters and have immeasurable speed feats of their own were shown being able to use the Cosmic Treadmill. Although Barry Allen and Wally West have shown many immeasurable speed feats throughout DC's history, I doubt most of any of you would disagree that these characters would be capable of such. So not much effort needs to go into proving that. But a funny moment I found was there was an instance during Post-Crisis in The Flash Volume 2 where Wally West literally went back in time and came back with the Cosmic Treadmill so that the other speedsters can use it. But something I must point out that I know a lot of people are going to nitpick is what Jay Garrick is trying to say to Wally West in this first scan here. Time travel? Wally, I know you can zip through time on your own, but haven't you forgotten? The rest of us need the time treadmill, and it must have been destroyed when Cobalt Blue demolished the Flash Museum. Jay is not saying that he and the rest of the other speedsters besides Wally aren't capable of immeasurable speed, because that wouldn't make sense and would be contradicted by immeasurable speed feats that Jay Garrick has already performed on his own. And it would be a lot more logical to believe that Jay Garrick would instead be implying that Wally's ability to navigate through time via immeasurable speed far surpasses all of them. Which makes sense. Wally West started out as the sidekick to Barry Allen, and was the one joining him on the many adventures throughout time using the Cosmic Treadmill to help him navigate. So it makes sense that Jay would be referring to how Wally is much more experienced in navigating throughout time in comparison to all of them. Not to mention, during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, both Wally West and Jay Garrick would be seen using a much larger version of the Cosmic Treadmill to travel to Earth 2. And since Jay is shown running on it with Wally instead of just being attached to the treadmill, Jay would have had to be going at the exact same speed as Wally in order for them both to travel while on it. And for the record, I am not saying that Jay Garrick and Wally West are equal in speed due to this. It's even stated in Post-Crisis that Wally scales above Jay in speed anyway. What this proves is that if Jay is capable of keeping up with Wally, who is shown to have immeasurable speed, in order to perform this feat, it would logically follow that he would have to have immeasurable speed in order to perform this feat. This happens again during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, except this time, both our Superman and Golden Age Superman join them to travel to Earth 2 again, to find it now destroyed due to previous events. This makes sense since both pre-Crisis Superman and Barry Allen have both been stated to have mastered the art of time travel, with each using a special kind of super speed, almost verbatim stating that both casually have immeasurable speed. And don't get me started on the massive amounts of immeasurable speed feats that both our Superman and Golden Age Superman have respectively. And just in case you think these treadmills are exclusively able to travel between other universes, Wally West has stated in a previous scan I posted that the Cosmic Treadmill had always allowed them to travel to other Earths. And this was further solidified back in the Flash Volume 1, where Barry Allen was stuck on Earth Prime and built a Cosmic Treadmill there in order to return back to his original universe. And before anyone mentions in the comments, yes, I'm aware of what happened during one of the issues of the Justice League of America 1960 comic line. For those who aren't aware of it, there was a time during this storyline where one of the writers, Carrie Bates, uses the same Cosmic Treadmill on Earth Prime. Thinking it wouldn't work, ends up sending him to another alternate Earth as a result. Along with another writer, Elliot S., who even later on ends up meeting the Justice League due to this. However, it was explicitly explained in the same issue and the issue afterward that it was caused by the residual/dormant super speed energy that was left behind by the Flash after he used it in order to return to his original Earth. Which leads into the third question that you might find surprising. Can you bring those who don't have immeasurable speed with you on the Cosmic Treadmill? Surprisingly, yes. There have been many instances of this occurring. During pre-Crisis, Barry Allen was shown being able to transport him and an unconscious Mr. Element he was carrying in his arms into the future using the Cosmic Treadmill. During post-Crisis, Bart Allen, after accidentally bringing back some velociraptors from the Jurassic period to the present, was able to put them back via the Cosmic Treadmill by vibrating them at the same frequency as him. During the events of Flashpoint, Rebirth Barry Allen rebuilt a Cosmic Treadmill while Batman and Father Batman fight off some Amazons. Barry Allen is later seen taking Batman with him, and Batman is even shown to be clearly attached via a cable to the Cosmic Treadmill, not running on it. And lastly, during pre-Crisis, Barry Allen was even able to connect an entire ship, including a human captain and Wally West on board, to the Cosmic Treadmill, and they were able to transport themselves back into the prehistoric era. Now, this doesn't debunk anything I have already shown, as it can easily be said that as long as someone is operating the treadmill, has immeasurable speed, they can both travel through time together. But that is assuming that the other person isn't running on the treadmill. If they were, again, you would have to have immeasurable speed. But for the sake of argument, let's say that's true. Well, let's go back to when both Wally and Jay were using the treadmill together, and say that even if Jay is running on it, it's only because Wally West is there that it's working. Don't you think Jay would have been flinged off or fallen off the treadmill if that was the case? He would have had to be keeping up with Wally to even stay on the treadmill. I mean, isn't that how treadmills work even in the real world as well? Yeah, I thought so. Now, the answer to this next question, I would say, would count as supplementary evidence for my previous claim concerning the common misconception about the Cosmic Treadmill. If you can travel through time via the Cosmic Treadmill, wouldn't you be going through the time stream? Well, yes. It has been blatantly shown multiple times that have used the Cosmic Treadmill go through the time stream while using it. During post-Crisis, Barry Allen and Wally West, while traveling on the Cosmic Treadmill, in one instance accidentally run into Booster Gold and Rip Hunter while in the Timestream. During Post-Crisis again, Brainiac 5 implies that using the treadmill would send them through the Timestream. And there was an instance in Pre-Crisis that Superman, Barry Allen, and even Wonder Woman have been shown running on the treadmill through a mist of time, which would imply that they would have had to have been in the Timestream at one point. Although, I will cover why the Timestream is such an important cosmological structure and why this would count as supplementary evidence in the near future, as I believe it definitely deserves its own video. But for now, I must also address the last and final question about the Cosmic Treadmill that I'm sure a lot of you have been wondering. Isn't the Cosmic Treadmill a time machine? Well, yes and no. There have been times where the Cosmic Treadmill has been used as and called a time machine, and it has been shown with other characters traveling throughout the time stream, as you've probably seen with earlier scans. But this doesn't mean that the Cosmic Treadmill got retconned, nor does it debunk my previous claims for how the Cosmic Treadmill fundamentally works. It's simply just an upgraded version of the treadmill where you can take the treadmill with you instead of going without it and having to worry about mistakenly relaxing your internal vibrations and being sent back to your original time period. Saying otherwise would be utter headcanon. So no, the Cosmic Treadmill being considered a time machine or used as one in other instances does not debunk its fundamental function. But anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I currently have videos on explaining both Nth Metal and the Mother Box in the works, so look forward to those. If you'd like to know more about the DC cosmology, or how powerful some of your favorite DC characters are, please go check out my friend Webcam Parrot. He goes more in depth about DC comic scaling than any other comic channel on YouTube, and I wouldn't be as knowledgeable on DC if it wasn't for him. I would recommend you watch his video on the absurd powers of Booster Gold, which tackles his post-crisis appearances, which I helped him do research for. Or his DC cosmology video, if you wish to have a better idea of the scaling I'll be diving further into in future videos. Comment down below what are things you want to see get its own video, but in the meantime, I'll see you all in the next video.